Of us. Diddy survivor, never told his story on this channel before. Thank you, everybody, for putting questions in already. Thank you for waiting. Thank you, Rocko, for spending this time. Courtney Burgess was going to come on, but he's coming on Friday. Get ready for that one. And Rocko, please tell the viewers first. Let's set the table a little bit about you and what your mission is with this.
First of all, my name is Rocko Fowler. I am 37 years old. I feel that a lot.
Okay, I just want to say this real quick. The panel that he's on is some dude named Sean. Let me pull it up. Sean Attwood. He's from the UK. He's got like 944,000 followers. And how in the hell he came across Rocko or Rocko came across him, I have no idea. But he tends to like cover the royal family, all the Jay-Z stuff and P. Diddy stuff and all just shit like that. So that's a little backstory. I'm going to drop his link in the chat, but we've definitely got to somehow get the word out about Rocko to these people. And I'm so sorry, Red Dog. Make a comment and I'll mod you back up.
Stuff, you don't just meet people, just because of a coincidence. There's reasons to meeting people. I believe in prophetic dreams. How I actually really truly started to wake up to this was not only when Diddy was arrested, but I am what they call the Hamptons club going, back when I was 17 years old in 2006. And I was lured into one of Diddy's SUVs from a club. I was given a shot, and they were like these little vials. Looked like these little vials. And all of a sudden, I didn't know what happened. I just totally blanked completely out. Now, I've suppressed this for years. They say there's a story before a story as well. So the human trafficking, I was almost trafficked in the CPS.
Rocko, we're going to call it transportation. Human transportation.
Pardon. I apologize. I'm just free will, man. That's it's when you have that pain built up inside of you.
Of course.
And you don't know where to turn. You're like, you know what? I'm going to start telling my story. I don't want people to believe me. I don't want anybody to believe me. What I want you to do is I want you to do your research and what's really going on underground. And that, yes, there are satanic rituals still taking place. And the other thing is it doesn't just have to be celebrities. It can be bankers. It can be police. I've been a target of the police my whole life. That's why I never went and reported any of this stuff. I mean, I remember waking up in a bed next to two other guys, butt naked, but not knowing how the hell I got there.
Rocko, is the things beeping in your room? Are you all right to mute those?
Yeah, you know what? People need to learn respect. I'm on a show right now. Sorry.
Thanks. It's all right.
I apologize.
What we want to do, it's all right. We're going to take this opportunity to slow you down because we want you to go over this in the order it happened in a slow format, and we want you to set the table, and we want you to explain to the viewers before the Diddy stuff what your life was like, what your aspirations were, that kind of a thing.
Okay. I grew up in the Hamptons. So I grew up with a very rich family. My grandfather was a vice president of Local 1298, the road working union. He actually saved a man. That's how he got the job. He never had a college, never had high school, never made it past third grade. You know, I was born in a Confederate state. And Confederacy has a lot to do with what the yeah, if you watch the X Factor interview where they speak about this stuff, how like bloodlines and so on and so forth. You know, I was always a target. Always. My whole life seemed to be a target. I seemed to always want to be a loner. You know,
when did that start? When did that first start for you? How young were you?
Well, see, it's like, we're talking about the Diddy stuff? Because I mean,
I want to know about you as a person, your life.
I had an ET contact. I had an extraterrestrial experience at 3 years old. My mother remembers me being held down, and they were grays. Now, that started. I was having night terrors, all kinds of stuff was going on. And, you know, I was going to school, ironically, on an air base, preschool. And, you know, there was some MK Ultra stuff that took place. Yes, they took me underground. Yes, they questioned me. Yes, they programmed me. They programmed me with different alters, personalities, where I can go from being one person to being another person. So I have female alters. I have actually one that's in love with Diddy. I'm keeping it real. Like this is how spiritual this stuff gets, you know. But real quick, for those out there, Adria English is definitely telling the truth. I've seen her in my dreams before I even spoke to her. I mean, that's how spiritual this stuff is. And I never seen her do any harm to anybody. All I seen was others touching her and you know, she was Diddy's entertainment for others. You understand? And she was abused.
All right, let's go back to you, Rocko, before we get to this stuff. Let me just
explain I just wanted to make that clear before I forgot it.
Thank you. Let me just explain a few things to the viewers then. So Rocko, so far, I'm just going to summarize. He said he's from a wealthy family and he's gone through extreme childhood trauma. Now, some people are hip to MK Ultra, some people are not hip to MK Ultra. MK Ultra came from the intelligence agencies. It was a program where they put young people in particular through extreme childhood trauma to manipulate their brains, to create alter personalities, to become assassins, or to do all kinds of things that they wouldn't even remember they had done. And this is documented. This is not something that's just out the clear blue.
Bill Clinton.
You look at Candace Owen. She's done loads on MK Ultra. We had O'Neill on here, wrote about the Manson family and MK Ultra. So let's hear from Rocko then, details of his childhood. Not too graphic, but if you could just give us an idea of what kind of things you went through MK Ultra.
Okay, a lot of people think that, you know, when something stops happening in an underground area such as Montauk, there are things that still happen in Montauk. There are still rituals going on. There are still, you know, experiments going. People go missing all the time. If you look up Long Island, New York, Montauk, people go missing. You know, there's unalives all the time. It's crazy. It's, you know, and there has been stories of people said that they have seen people abducted. I mean, literally abducted in front of their eyes. You know, I can't make this up. I can't. It's the truth. It's the reality.
What are your earliest memories?
My earliest memories were See, in these programs, what they would do is they would teach you different ways to doing different things. So if they wanted you to be a quote unquote assassin, they would train you with like taking an animal and an animal. So if you do that, or bringing you in a room, putting, a blickety on the table, having you pick it up, they pull the bag off the person's head and they tell you, just do it, meaning, yeah. And that's the type of stuff that they would do. That's why so many people went missing, homeless people, kids. We were always warned in school. We were always warned, because in preschool is where they got me. That's where the programming started at 3 years old, because I was very easily able to be split, reprogrammed, and sent out into the world as being a Manchurian candidate. So I would be a target for the rest of my life. I mean, I have pictures of choppers flying at low levels here. Wherever I go, they follow. Vehicles, and now it's even getting more wild. It's because now I'm coming out with the facts of, what they used MK Ultra favors in Hollywood. See, a lot of people don't understand MK Ultra is going on in Hollywood right in front of your eyes.
Yeah, Hollywood is the main tool of the intelligence. All right, going back to your childhood, Rocko, you mentioned about going to school. How were you in school? Were you able to settle down?
No. I did not like school. I always felt like there was something off about school. I was called a basement boy. And I had friends that actually remembered being called basement boys. And that would be the ones that would be taken down and questioned and asked all these, different questions. How would your family feel if you unalive yourself? And, so they do the unalive programming, in you. And see, like, I could be sitting here and someone could call me right now, and whisper a number into my ear. And all of a sudden that number, if it's a trigger code, it's going to trigger something. It's going to actually trigger something. And then either A, I got to try to get myself out of it, or I act on it. And I have acted on quite a bit of this stuff. I have.
Yeah, we've interviewed people who were housed with Saran in California prison. And Saran it appears he was triggered and he's no recollection of what he did when Bobby Kennedy was assassinated.
You don't have any recollection sometimes. I mean, there's so much, like I said, my childhood was, it was like, it really, I look at this like, my whole life is a cut up movie. It just, I can't make it up. It's something I can't make up. I'm not ever gonna lie about anything. And I will not co-sign for anything that I feel that God has not put on my heart to speak on.
What were your parents' occupations when you was a kid?
Oh, my father was always the type where he did not want me getting involved in the industry at all. And at one point I did want to become a model. Now, this was around 17 when the stuff started happening. I'm 37 now, so with Diddy. I was always looking for that. And, it wasn't enough for me to walk into a casting studio in Manhattan. I don't remember the name of it. I was 17 years old now. I went through foster care, but that's a whole nother, that's like, would be a whole episode and maybe more, because there's so many ins and outs, because unfortunately they were trying to traffic me out of the system, steal me from my mother, use me for a paycheck, which is a cash for kids. There's actually a video online that talks about that, and it happened in the state that I'm currently in.
Yeah, I'm familiar. All right, let's go back, because you keep skipping over very important parts of your story. So your father and your mother, you said they were wealthy.
Well, I was always the black sheep. We were the family was wealthy.
Family was wealthy, yep.
It was like black sheep. I think it was because my mother did not want me to be baptized Catholic, and my family wanted me baptized Catholic. And my mom said, no, he needs to be able to choose his own religion or not. If I don't want to believe, I don't want, but I believe in God today. So that's the only thing that's kept me alive.
Are you able to say where the wealth of your family came from?
No, I'm not.
Okay, totally understand. All right, so you're in this preschool situation then, and you've jumped. You said it ended up where you ended up, foster care. Could you just fill in what happened in the years between, please? I have blocks of missing time, so there's a lot of blocks at that point. So I think they were actually taking me and using me, and they, like I said, they could use you, and you don't even know that they're using you. You do something, you do the order, and you just end up in your room, and you're in front of your laptop, or you're laying in your bed, and you're like, "How did I just get here?" And I was just there. It's weird how it works. As I always say, it's like we live in a simulation. As you're becoming a teenager then, what memories do you have as you're starting to become a teenager?
Choosing the street life, skipping school, hanging out with the wrong crowds, really, 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 really wanting to be involved in the industry somehow. But my father was the type of man where he was like, no, no, no. And my mother, no, they did not want that at all. But I pushed it.
At what age was foster school?
Well, foster care happened when I moved.
Okay.
When I moved, I got sent to live with my grandparents in New York. And I decided, okay, I'm going to go drink and party and take the car out for a ride. And I decided, I was young. So I was I was 13 going on 14 almost. I got sent to live with my dad because I drove the car through the garage and got out of the car. And, my grandfather was at a union meeting. And when he got back, he said, you're going to live with your father. So I ended up getting sent here to the state of Missouri to my dad. It wasn't too long after that. My dad had a job working with a guy. This is what I'm saying. And I told him the night of when he was unalived. I told him the night of that. I said, I don't think it's a good idea. You even go in there to pick up anything, go home and sleep. No. And I ended up walking into him, laying on the floor, unalived. And I didn't believe he was gone for like almost 2 days, maybe 3 days. And here I was just placed into a foster care system. Now, I was told one thing. They told me that they were going to, that they were going to see if my grandparents wanted me back. And they came out and said they didn't, but they really did, I found out. They wouldn't do the interstate compact paperwork. So they said, we got a cash for kid.
Before we go to that, Rocko, that's the big thing, getting moved, shuffled around, the family members and the parent unalived. How did that affect you mentally at that point of your life?
Well, I was placed in facilities like Agape. I wasn't at Agape. I was in a place called Missouri Baptist Children's Home, where they were shoving religion down my throat on a constant basis. They'd make you write, verses not out of the Bible over and over and over and over and over again for days on end. Like this stuff is true. That's why there's, right now, I'm currently speaking with lawyers about going after the CPS system in this state because they're already under investigation because they're allowing these kids to go into these abusive boarding schools and stuff, and they become abusive. They physically restrain you if you do not take your medication. That happened to me. You're locked in rooms sometimes for a week, 2 weeks, a month. It's horrible. It's like kids' jail, but it's a Christian, thing to it.
Let me just explain something to the viewers then as well. So, when I was incarcerated, a lady wrote to me, and she said her kid had been cashed for kids. And basically what happens in these situations is you've got judges getting kickbacks from facilities to send kids to these facilities who don't even belong in these facilities and sentencing them to long sentences they don't deserve. And they're getting all this money to do so. Judges, you can Google this, judges have been prosecuted and incarcerated themselves over this cash for kids stuff.
Yeah. So what they would do with me is they would shuffle me around really quick. They never gave me a chance to speak to my mom. My mom tried calling me several times. They would never let me speak to my mom. Some of the punishments were talk about for child labor, pushing wheelbarrows of rocks up a steep hill at, a young age, and not feeding you correctly, feeding you the bare minimum. Meanwhile, they're getting all the money for your food and they're sticking it in their pockets. And a lot of times there's pimps, drug dealers. They run these Christian organizations. And the last one I was in before I came home, 3 days before I was 16, someone comes up to me and says to me, one of the kids there, he said, if I was you, I'd get out of here and I'd go as fast as possible because I overheard one of the staff say that they were going to traffic you out of here next week. And he said, I've seen it happen to 3 other kids since he was there. And I ran. There was somebody that saw another staff member beating the hell out of me in the front yard. I mean, beating me down. The girl says across the street, she screams like, what are you doing to that kid? That's a kid. Calls me across the street. I remember it. There were 4 cigarettes in the pack. I remember things like that. I have a photographic memory. If I remember something, it's either photographic or I get it through dreams. I don't know. It's a gift. And sometimes to me, I feel it's a gift and a curse because some of the things that even with hearing sometimes, I'll hear real quick Diddy's voice, saying something, whispering something, it's a voice to skull type thing. But yeah, it's my life has been after all the Diddy stuff. I ended up in prison myself.
All right. Wait, Rocko, you're jumping again. We want to just go year by year by year. So right now, you know, you've got into your teens. This is before the Diddy stuff. What's your life like leading up to the Diddy stuff?
Well, I was always into hanging out with the wrong people. I always wanted to be with the older crowd. Never my age. I always wanted to party, especially after my dad. And you know, it's hard to talk about this stuff. You know, it's just some of it. I don't even want to talk about my dad anymore. So can we please not talk about that anymore?
Yeah, I want to talk about you and how you're developing over the years before the Diddy stuff.
I mean, I was partying. I mean, when I came home out of the foster care system, which my mom had to come all the way to Missouri and steal me back. CPS was not going to give me back. And we had the home shut down, though. We had the home shut down, and they got raided. They had drugs. They were horrible people. Horrible people. They would beat the hell out of me on a regular basis. We're talking about Independence Avenue, Kansas City, Missouri. We're not talking about no, you know, I mean, they played spin the blickety. That's what they would play. And if it landed on you, you had to go out and do something. Yeah, that's just how it rolled. And if you didn't, next thing you know, you'd have 20 dudes beating you up at once.
So did you have any jobs as a teenager?
I have not been able to have a job due to all the trauma in my life, everything that's happened, because I would just suppress anything. I would never tell anybody. I always suppressed it because I was always threatened. You're going to end up in a psych ward, or, you know, you're going to end up and your family's never going to get you back. Or, you know, they would always throw these threat packs at me. That's why I would never go to the cops. And personally, you know, I went into a police station the other day to report somebody, and they wouldn't even take the report from me. So, you know, I'm a target to them no matter what. They don't like me. I mean, it's, you know, I was one of those ones that, you know, I had to choose the streets to survive. Because at 17, I was basically, you know, kicked out of my mom's house. So I was on the streets for a very long time. And on the streets, but I was jumping from house to house. That's when the stuff started. And I was like 16, 17. I wouldn't listen. I was very rebellious. I got kicked out of school, not even 6 months of being home out of foster care. So it ruined me. It sent me right into street life.
All right, you've set the table brilliantly on what your life was like before this happened with Diddy then. So let's get to that stuff now. When did you first hear about Diddy?
As far as it was suppressed up until that one point. And I already mentioned in the beginning, I'm not going to mention it again. But it came from that dream, but it also came from when he got locked up. Something went off in my mind, and certain things started getting weird for me. Weird energies, spiritual stuff. I started getting visions. I started speaking with other people, psychics. You know, I know people on that side of the table as well, because of the MK Ultra. And like I had one woman the other night, you know, praise her, you know, a wonderful person, say to me, you know, I asked God, you know, before I do any type of interviews with anybody, God gave me the answer that you were telling the truth. It's a sad truth. It's something I don't want to remember. So there will be times that I can and will disassociate for a few seconds, or I might turn into Shay Shay, which is an author of mine, which is in love with Diddy. It's bizarre. I don't know what that's about. But it messes with me. And it's hard for me to even say that, but that's the truth. But I was a club goer around 17, started hitting the clubs, CPIs, you know, 40 Barn, the Hamptons, the Star Room, where I walked out of the Star Room one night and a white SUV pulls up. I didn't know who it was. And I think it was four cigarettes in a pack. I go up to the, you know, out to smoke a cigarette, and I get lured over. So he comes up to me and says, there's a party up the street, and, you know, somebody wants to meet you. So of course, I'm already half hammered. So I end up going over, getting in the vehicle. Next thing you know, I'm handed that little vial and told, yeah, this is good. I take the shot of it. And it was like, I don't remember nothing other than waking up, and I was in a bed with two other guys were in that bed, and they were butt naked. And I didn't know where I was at the time. All I knew was when I got in the vehicle, someone said, we got, what are they, I'm trying to get it. I know it's there. It's, they said to Diddy, the sex worker that grabbed me up, which I do not remember her name. I just know she had blonde hair, blue eyes, and down to like she was wearing some really expensive clothing. And she said to me, she said, yeah, the party, like I said, and I got in the vehicle. And I remember hearing after I took this out, we got you a Target. So it became habit forming. Every summer I would go throughout the whole summer. So from that point on up until 2009, I have missing blocks of time. And it seems like right around the summertime. So that's when that was happening. In the summer, when he'd come out to his nice home in the Hamptons, that yes, does have tunnels underneath it. It does. And if it doesn't, they've been closed. They've been sealed off, closed, and nobody will find them. But they're there. They were there. Can't make this up.
How long did this stuff go on for, Rocko?
This went on till about 2008, where I ended up, I was in a really bad place. I had nowhere to go at the time. And I decided I had a drug habit at the time because, after all that trauma, I just really suppressed it. And then I ended up going to prison right after that.
All right, let's go back to when this was happening then. At the very beginning, did you say that you saw Adria English?
I did. And they would be lifting up her dress and the whole nine. It's true. I've seen it with my own eyes. I had that prophetic dream the night before we actually spoke. And I knew it was real because I got this gut feeling inside of me. I got this gut feeling. And next thing you know, after I said black dress to her. And next thing you know, that pops up. And I'm like, wait a minute, something's interesting here. And it's like bright lights. And, in the dream, I remember it was like bright lighting. And, Diddy would be up there and he'd call out at a certain time, all kids, got to go. But not really. The kids were actually down in the basement getting ready for, the next go around. I'll tell you right now, Governor Cuomo. Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. That's why he's quiet. That's why he's being quiet.
What about people like Ali Carter, Jackie Wright? Did you ever see those? Okay. So how did you manage to get out of this situation? You were a young person. You were a traumatized person. Sounds like it's very difficult to get out of.
Oh, well, this is I'm 37 now, and it still has an impact on my life. After all this stuff had happened, I questioned my own sexuality for a very long time. I still do. Then dealing with that female altar was it's horrible times when that comes out because of things I say, and it's bizarre. And I start to speak like a woman, and I start to act like a woman, and it's like, it gets so real that, it's like people say there's levels to this spirituality. And, there were a lot of rituals done too. Diddy definitely wanted to be and still wants to be the Antichrist. 100%. 100%. And that's why I believe a lot of MK Ultra victims were also involved in these things.
Did you ever come across Lamisha?
I'm not going to speak on that.
Okay. So you're in this situation then as a young person. What made you stop going back, or did someone rescue you? How did you get out?
I think it was because back right around 2008, that summer, I got locked up.
And what you doing the day you got locked up?
I robbed the house. And it was because I was one of those I was living on the streets, and I needed to survive, and it happened, and it was my own family members. But here's the other piece. My grandfather wanted me in a long-term treatment center, but guess what? The state decided to get charges less than 24 hours. And I was already on, paper probation. So, my life went to hell. It just went to hell. And then, I was in prison from, 2009 till I did 4 years altogether in state prison in New York.
Were you in the county jail at first?
I was in Riverhead County. Yes.
What was that like going in there?
I'll tell you, it was horrible. 1 day in jail is enough. 1 day in jail is enough. But it did become somewhat of a comfort zone, which was scary.
Could you explain that?
Once you understand what jail is like, it's kind of like if you know the crime, you know the time or whatever, it's kind of like that. So it's like, okay, I know I'm going to have, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I know I'm going to have a place to shower, and I know I'm going to have a place to sleep. And that's the reality of it. You get comfortable sometimes because everybody's helping you. Oh, he's in jail, so we're going to send him commissary money. We're going to do this. We're going to do that, instead of me trying to work on myself and continuously, suppressing stuff and, not I didn't want to talk to anybody about it. I just didn't. It was like kind of like, you know, it was people just I didn't trust. I didn't trust, and relationships. I couldn't keep relationships.
Did you get clean in jail?
Yes, I did. Yes, and
So
then I
when
got out and, you know, did the parole as best as I could, and I ended up getting popped for drinking. You know, and I believe that, you know, a lot of the drugs that were given at these parties or these rituals or these whatever freak off, whatever, you know, it doesn't matter, because drugs were given, you know, to incapacitate a person, so they can do and have their way with you. That's just how it goes. And I mean, there were local politicians there of Long Island. I mean, there were carpenters there. There were people there that, you know, everybody thinks, oh, it's just Hollywood stuff. You don't know what was not taken pictures of that was going on.
All right. So as a traumatized person, then you're self-medicating with substances to deal with that trauma, to, you know, to try and block that out. You're in the jail, you get clean. Now, when people get clean, the trauma, they can see it, can't they? The trauma's there. How did that feel, getting clean? Was it scary?
It was more, I would get the taste of alcohol in my mouth. I would, you know, I would crave it big time. I would crave it. I did manage to get a year clean, you know, without a drink on the streets. But as soon as that year came up, I ended up saying, I'm going to the bar tonight. That's it. I want to party, you know. And I ended up continuously drinking. And it became a habit to where I knew if I didn't quit. And, you know, thank goodness that, you know, for my two daughters, you know, if it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't be here right now.
So at what age did you have your daughters?
My one daughter's 4, and then I have a daughter that's 5. And they actually one of them just went home. I'd say in my 30s.
All right, we've jumped again. Let's just go back to jail. Did you say you did 4 years?
Yeah, I was in state prison. Yeah.
And how did you
I don't want
change?
to go into the jail thing.
No, I just want to know how you changed as a person over that 4 years.
Well, I mean, I've seen people stabbed. I've seen people, you know, I've seen all kinds of stuff take place in you know, jail. And, you know, it's just, that's what it is. That's what it is, you know, and that's what the environment, you know, what they do in there.
And did that re-traumatize you, or did you come out strengthened because it was?
I came out strengthened. I had a guy, he was actually, I believe, in Maximum magazines. He got in there for something, I don't remember what it was, but he would have me up every day at 5 a.m. in the morning, working out. So that kept me going. And I mean, he wouldn't stop. He'd have the shake ready for me, and he'd be like, let's go to the yard right now and let's work out. That's just how that was. And I got out, and unfortunately, in the state of New York, when you go now they have this thing where, I don't know if it still exists, but where you have like less than 24 hours and you got to report to a rehab for 28 days, even though I just did all that time without any kind of drugs, but I still got to go through a 28-day program. Then I got to go into their sober house. And then I got to go, it's to me, I feel it's a double jeopardy.
Did you read much or do education in there?
No, I chose to hang out with bad people. I ended up in SHU for almost a year.
A year locked down?
Almost, yeah. 23-hour lockdown, 7 days a week. Yep.
Did you have your own cell in there?
Yeah, it was a very small cell, and they would shackle you, your hands before you come out of the cell, and then they make you walk forward, or they shackle your legs. They do everything, and that's how you had to get in the shower too.
How did you stay sane in there?
It was a very, 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 very hard process, but I trained my mind, just doing, push-ups, sit-ups, no reading for me, mainly sleeping.
And then as you got closer to your release, what were your plans?
Well, I had to go to that rehab for 28 days, and then I had to go to a sober house, and then I couldn't leave the sober house for another 30 days, and that had to be okayed. So there was really nothing, I couldn't work because I had to go to program every single day of the week. It was even Saturdays. It was horrible.
And did they ask you to get a job and stuff?
No, what they do is they make you go to social services and you sit there all day. It's a sad situation, especially when you have family that have, all that, wealth and money. And unfortunately, I am the black sheep. So
did they support you or did they just drop you?
Well, they don't support me. They don't support my mother. They just don't. They don't like us at all.
All right, so you get out then, you're in these programs, and did you say you fell back on alcohol as self-medication?
Yes. Yes.
How long did that last?
Oh, I was doing it the whole time on parole, almost the whole 5 years of parole I had to do. I mean, I was smoking weed. I had a parole officer though that he retired, you know, he was a great guy. Like he'd tell me, don't, you know, like, so it was like, he would warn me beforehand, you know, he'd be like, I'm going to warn you about this. And okay. So I'd understand and try to like mathematically figure out how much time I have to, you know, do it and then stop it. So it won't come up on a urinalysis or hair sample, whatever, but hair sample, then you're definitely done for.
All right. So what year did you get released?
I can't remember the date, honestly. I don't even look at that anymore. I'm a stay-at-home dad now. I deal with trauma still. I still wake up from nightmares. I still have that voice to skull thing going on. And, you know, I still question my sanity on a regular basis, but they say when you question your own sanity, you are sane. So there's some part of that you are sane. And that's why I said, you know, I can only go up of what I remember. And that's that. I can't go, I'm not going to stretch anything. I'm not going to, no, it's not how we do this.
So when you start to see this Diddy stuff get in the news, how did that affect you?
It just triggered me and I ended up becoming very abusive towards my significant other. I became very abusive, like verbally. And I just wanted to almost go back to that lifestyle again. I don't know why, you know, I don't know what it was. It's like, but then, like I said, dealing with and finding out different alters with different psychics, finding out that I have this one female alter and that female alter sometimes says some, I mean, I have friends that have heard it and they're like, don't, you know, like, and I'm like, well, I can't help it. You know, it just, sometimes if she wants to come out, she's going to come out. That just means she's, you know, wants to introduce herself. That's all.
When you got the desire to go back to the lifestyle, how did you stop yourself from doing so?
Well, see, I came back. I went to a funeral back in 2020. And, you know, this is when it first started with all the arguments and stuff. It was going on, but it got worse when the Diddy stuff came out. It got worse. It was almost like maybe a trigger that triggered something in me to behave like that. I don't know, because I guess I was stressing and, you know, I wasn't able to see my children at that time. And it's just, it's something I don't want to believe. I'm telling you, I don't, it's something I don't want to believe. I don't want to remember being fed dog food, being in a dog cage, being in rituals with, you know, inverted pentagrams, laying on them and sacrificial rituals, like also, you know, soul swapping, stuff like that. Stuff being done to your body that, you know, it takes a toll and it's very scary.
Yeah, and we appreciate, man, because I'm sure you were living some of this when you're talking about this.
Oh yeah, I'm living it. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely I am.
When the altar stuff, when did that start?
Well, I've been dealing with altars since 2014. And I believe that was when the whole MK Ultra opened up. That started to open up. And then little by little by little, like I said, things come back later on in life. And it's, you wonder why you made all these poor decisions, you know, and I don't know why I kept going back to the club and, you know, re-entering that vehicle. You know, I don't know. I guess it was maybe, I'm not remembering, but, you know, yeah, there were definitely, Diddy would send sex workers into clubs, especially, you know, this club was right in East Hampton. It's no longer there, where his home is. Well, he ain't going to be there anymore. That's for sure. No.
So Mac Lee, one of the viewers, is asking, when this Diddy stuff hit the news, you know, did you go to the police about any of this?
Once again, anytime I go to the police, I have problems. I have people on this internet right now that tried to step into my life, and I believe that they are paid oppositions. I definitely do, because they have stolen my identity. They have used my identity. They have made T-shirts. They have sent, you know, not my type of, you know, partner, meaning to my home off of websites. They've created Grindr accounts in my name. These people are very, very horrible people. And they know exactly who they are. And I'm not even going to put their name out there, but they know I'm coming for them. And, you know, I'm just going to make it clear for the audience. I am not a PDF file. That's number one. Number two, I do not know who the individual, we'll just say the Jane Doe, you know, say that I said something or whatever, and I'm going to unalive. And I mean, come on. No. And that's a huge allegation.
And they just attach it. they attach that to anyone whose reputation they want to destroy because they know even if they can't prove it, that it's going to hang over that person. Cloud is going to hang over that person. All right. So Angelique is asking, what is soul swapping?
It's when your soul leaves your body, goes to another body, or you get their soul. I mean, you can have walk-ins. I mean, that's what I mean. Spirits could just walk into your body, or it's when you're dealing with heavy-duty witchcraft like that, you're dealing with some serious, serious business that I warn people to just be careful. Be very careful with that because I try not to astral project anymore because it's not good for your body to do it all the time. It's not.
Yeah. So yeah, in that sense, if the police will help you, are you still able to take legal action against Diddy?
I'm gonna do whatever God's will is for me to do. And that's that. There's nothing else I can do. I definitely believe that I will get justice one way or another because regardless, he knows what he's done and he's done it to countless people, and he's scared now. He's scared now, and I don't fear. I don't fear. I've had threats. I've gotten messages, and I'm not gonna mention people's names because I have respect now. I'm learning. I gotta keep myself cool, calm, and collected, and allow others to say whatever they want to say because at the end of the day, they don't live with me. They don't eat at my table. They don't hang out with me and walk down the street. So to me, people's opinions, we all have them.
So Shane is joining us. And Shane, let me just bring you up to speed. So Rocko has told his story excellently. He's took us through the complete timeline of his life, and we really appreciate him getting into all the details of that. Some of it, I'm sure, has brought a bit of trauma. And we've got the viewer questions that are coming in now. Well, let me just tell viewers that Shane has been speaking to Rocko recently, and they've got this thing going, and Rocko's come on the channel through Shane. And before we start with the rest of these viewer questions, tons to come in. Shane, anything you would like to say to Rocko while we're live?
Yeah, one thing, he and I talked a little bit, we don't get too deep into it because I want to save everything for the show. And you may have already answered this, Rocko. What age did everything start when you ended up in the Diddyverse?
The Diddyverse. Well, I mean, when I was about 17 years old, it started the summers because I found out about clubs and fake IDs, and I mean, at this time it was weird. I didn't understand why at the clubs they would like take our cell phones.
Right.
So when people ask, "Oh, why don't you have pictures?" Well, my phone was missing.
Yeah, and a lot of times, even in a nightclub or something like that, you're not going to think. A lot of people do leave their phones even in their cars and everything to just make sure they don't get stolen. Because I wondered about that too. It's like definitely taken for a reason, and they use the excuse of, well, some of them even tell you that they'll put policy on the door that no pictures are taken because of, I guess, women wearing certain types of clothes, they don't want them doing little ways around with sneaking cell phone pictures and whatnot. So okay. And the other thing I thought about too, did you guys get in and talk about the tunnels that were in the Hamptons?
Oh, they're all throughout the Hamptons.
Yeah, you told me that on the phone.
I mean, any hospital, any post office, any police station, there is an entrance to tunnel areas all throughout. Even in Manhattan, you have Central Park. There's something going on below Central Park. A lot of people don't understand that there's a lot of stuff going on underground for real, and it is going on.
Now, are you talking like utility tunnels that they use to get to the water pipes and gas mains and all that? Or are you talking like separate individual and utilized in the neighborhoods to transport people back and forth type of tunnels?
Well, I mean, there was a house out in Montauk, and it was the house where Seinfeld episode was something, with the Seinfeld episode.
Right.
There, and there was supposedly an entrance to the tunnels underneath that house.
Wow.
So you never know where it's going to happen, and it doesn't just happen in like broad open places. Like, okay, Camp Hero is a debunked, air base, but what could really be going on there when you don't know? I mean, I've always been on that place, and I have found some weird stuff.
Well, and you're right too. I mean, a lot of people you think about the military in general, that type of thing wouldn't typically happen. But again, that too is going to be another, a mask to cover up the face as far as what's actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing we talked about with some other guests too. Now you are familiar again with Diddy, of course. Were you ever? We talked about this on the phone too, as far as ritual type scenarios. I mean, like what we talked about with Beyonce for one too. I think you said that she was a witch of some sort and had seen different things with her too.
Well, I remember Laura London and Diddy doing some type of ritual on me.
Can you get into that a little bit? Or?
I really can't right now.
Okay.
Just
cool.
Yeah. I do remember that though. I do.
Well, that was the next question too. I mean, with the amount of trauma that you suffered throughout that period of time, do you still have flashbacks and things like that?
Oh yeah.
Still to this day?
Yeah, where sometimes I can't breathe. Like all of a sudden out of nowhere, I feel like I'm being either choked, or I even have it where I feel in my bottom area, like I'll wake up sometimes and it'll feel like I was actually. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like you had been through it all over again.
Yes. So psychosomatic. Yes, very much so. Psychosomatic trauma.
Now, I don't know much about your family life, and I'm not going to go too deep into it. Just but one question: as far as when you were being mistreated by these people, was your family aware of it? Did you bring them into it to get help, or were you too worried that you couldn't do that? Well,
Diddy had a thing with, and all of his associates. So sometimes it's like that Blair where the face is covered, but that's the mind control.
That's on the MK Ultra side of things, right?
Yeah. So there's those side effects too.
Now, is that something that's brought on typically by medication, hypnosis, or how does that work?
Well, I have done hypnosis, and honestly, I stopped doing hypnosis because it was giving me migraines, and it just wasn't beneficial for me, and it actually kind of traumatized me even more.
See, I had a article I'd read in one of the science magazines a long time ago, and it stuck with me because I'd seen so many, your Dr. Phil TV shows, different Oprah shows, and all that do hypnosis on the air, but they never tell you. I mean, it's supposed to take you back so you can go through these memories, and it's supposed to help. But somebody who's been through trauma like you, it sounds like it literally just brought it right back to the surface and didn't give you a damn second's worth of freedom.
Right, exactly. And it's like sometimes I'll have these bleed throughs, right? And then I'll go to pick the pen up, and because of the trauma of having to write all that stuff out when I was in the foster care system, I have a very hard time writing things down.
Sounds like anything can trigger you, even on the smallest of levels. If it reminds you of any small circumstance when you were in their care, it just continues to berate you and beat up on you.
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
It's and the other thing with Diddy is it's all a cult thing. A lot of it's a cult thing. Like witching hour is when I really have, spirit. I still get spiritually attacked. And I probably will get threats after this show, I'm sure.
So what, I mean, is it like a demon type scenario where you're approached in your sleep, or?
Well, I have had people ride up on me. I have people driving up, playing loud music, right in front of my windows. I have the same SUV. I've had, people just show up to my house and, leave letters that they own me and this and that. Like it can get very topsy-turvy.
Gotcha. So we got a question from Madhead Jane says, happy 25, Rocko. Do you know anything about the cloning center?
I don't. I honestly don't. I have been told by other people in other countries that they have seen a clone of me, which I believe every one of us have a clone. I definitely do.
See, that's the one thing I think of. I can't think of there being two of me. I'm so good looking, it just blows my mind. So I can't imagine there being two clones that are that handsome of a fella. I'm just kidding.
No.
So you got were harmonics used to traumatize you? Is like a harmonica, playing music, rhythmic string music, or anything like that?
I cannot listen. I have a very hard time listening to stuff like Beethoven and stuff like that. I have a very hard time with.
Yeah, so that I'd heard too, that they'll use different string instruments,
and they'll add Metallica, and they'll add different like music, like rock, and that classical music.
Yeah, anything with a rhythmic beat and a solid string section that can achieve different octaves, it's enough to actually throw you into a kind of a trance, and then that's when you can follow up with the excuse me, with the programming or whatnot, or getting put under. And one thing I was just thinking of this too. What decade was your time with all this, and when was that?
I'm 37 now.
So
it's
20 years ago.
Yeah, well, I was 3 years old when I started dealing with
3 years old.
Yeah, when I had my first ET contact.
So with that in mind, I mean, did you ever, or were you ever exposed to like the Bohemian Grove?
I mean, those are the types of rituals that take place right out in Long Island. I mean, I'm telling you, if you do your research on Long Island, New York, you will find a lot of witchcraft and stuff that is going on out there that is just out of this world.
See, I tell you, my old boss, where I worked before I got ill, he and his family are from Long Island, and his daughter now is 21, and she went through a period a few years back of contacting friends in Long Island, and they were doing witchcraft. And
yeah.
He literally just changed from a straight A student, went to a Christian school, to all black clothes, just going crazy, listening to a certain kind of music. And then within a matter of months, she tried to hurt herself, and they got her therapy and everything, and she's back to her old self. But it was just amazing. My old boss was like, he said it was weeks. I mean, it was just like somebody had completely taken my daughter and given me back somebody different.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, I know there's a lot of people think that can happen. So there's a very possibility it could. So let's see what we got, guys. Scroll looking for a question. My eyeballs are small.
So Adil is asking if Rocko do you find speaking in public therapeutic?
Yeah, I do find it therapeutic. And also it's not just for me. It's so other survivors will come forward and know that I hear you, survivor. I see you, survivor, and I love you, survivor. Know that. And we're going to make it. We're going to make it.
You got Sammy, looks like Sammy says, can MK Ultra be portrayed as schizophrenia with multiple personalities? And she says she's new. He or she said, I'm sorry, I can't see the picture of Sammy. If you're male or female, I correct myself. I'm new to the MK Ultra. This poor guy has been through the mill.
Well, yeah. I mean,
what she's saying is like when you go through that, I guess it makes you think and act a certain way as a schizophrenia would. So do you think that they portray it like that?
Literally turn into that, like that, whatever the alter is. Like I have a Tommy alter, and he's a very angry alter, but they're like childlike alters that were created to try to make me either A, self-destruct, or omega. Yeah, basically
right.
Omega, the all and end. You know what I mean? Like that's and that's what I believe with Hollywood is. That's huge with Hollywood. It's a tactic they use. I feel like.
I mean, do you think with that in mind? I mean, you got to think a lot of these different types of programs and such, do you think that it starts with the government and works its way down into Hollywood and everywhere that spreads out that way, or do you think it just starts at home and then
I believe
on a ritual or a religious level?
well, I believe it's a lot deeper, darker, and sinister than the government.
Wow, that's hard to believe.
Who rules this planet? Seriously.
No, you're right. Yeah, that's very true. Very, very true.
Question from Sammy: how does someone overcome the effects of MK Ultra? When does it stop having a hold over you?
It's a timely thing. It's something I will deal with for the rest of my life. But there's different ways to doing it. Change a thought, or try to do something different with myself, move a muscle, or get up and do something. Hitting the punching bag helps for me. Getting anger out, it really helps.
Yeah, well, you're not bottling it in that way, and you can get the aggression out too. And from the physical aspect, it'll at least exhaust you, maybe even to the point where you sleep. I mean, do you sleep okay when you finally do get to sleep?
Yes. Now, a little bit. I mean, I still have nightmares, but since some real wonderful people have come into my life, and they've been praying, there's been a lot of protection. I must say, I've gotten a lot closer to God here lately because, I was straying away. I really was, and I was falling into a trap once again. They were trying to, they don't want me to speak. They definitely don't want me to speak at all. Like I said, I can go to the store and be wearing a certain color and somebody will start an argument with me. So it's no matter where you go, somebody's watching. It's also because I do a lot of research and then, bam, when I started talking about it, I did a YouTube video a few years back around 2014 at Camp Hero. It was up on YouTube for 2 days and it was gone. They deleted it.
Wow. That's crazy, man. I tell you, it's rough. That's for sure.
Got a question from Pamela.
Sorry, I was sorry.
What would you like to do with your future, and are you getting help with your frequency?
I see my future being bright. Utilize my trauma and turn my trauma in from a negative to a positive. And I want to help children. That's one thing I definitely want to do. I'm all about helping the kids. All about helping the kids. Because at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's about the children that are suffering right now.
Well, Sean is asking if you can spot immediately another MK Ultra survivor, and if you did spot another MK Ultra survivor, would you approach them?
It depends on their energy. It depends on if it's a positive connection or it's a setup, because sometimes they will do that. They will try to send somebody at you. And I mean, it could just be some willy-nilly. And they're the type of people where they just pay money for anything, it don't matter. It doesn't matter at all.
One question I had that was kind of lingering back here. James Burt asked, says, why haven't you sought out Busby, the victim's attorney?
Well, actually, the weirdest part is I called Busby, and Busby said that I already had an attorney, not him himself, but one of the, secretaries had contacted me and said, yeah, but they couldn't give me the name. They wouldn't give me the name of this attorney. But
wow, jeez.
I'm not surprised though. I can't even get my medical records out of the bus security. This is what I mean. It's one target after another target after another target after another. It's going to be the rest of my life.
And it seems like it's like anything. And you were telling me different things earlier today. And guys, if you can't hear me, I apologize. I'm still on an iPad. I will be getting a microphone this week, so bear with me. But can the MK Ultra kill switch get turned off through hypnosis? Do you believe that?
I don't know because I never asked.
Well, let me rephrase it too. It might come across different this way. Say if you were triggered, if whatever mechanism they use to put you in, say, a hypnotic mode, the kill switch that basically turns it off. That's what they're referring to.
Oh no,
can you turn it off like that?
No.
Okay.
I don't believe so.
So we got Lady Warrior asked, do they place implants in those who are victims of MK Ultra?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Now I'm curious, what type of implants is she referring to? Like control implants,
I mean,
information technology, or
there's so many different kinds. It's like, they can implant you where your head starts. It's messed up what they can do. I don't know.
It's amazing in some respect. I mean, as messed up as it is, it's like, I'm 52 and I consider myself a little bit above half stupid. But I'd like to learn a range of things, and I never have heard of any of this until I joined Sean's channel. It's crazy. So we got Anna Linball says, what was your focus training at MK Ultra? She says, sorry she missed the starting if it's a repeat.
I'd rather just not really answer any more questions about MK Ultra and save that for a time where I can sit down and I can meditate on certain things, because
okay. And you can
I was with the crew of Max Spears, James Casbolt. I was in that mix, which they pretty much calling it super soldiers. So, but a lot of people are like, oh, super soldier, that's cool. No, it's not cool, because what they try to get people to do to one another. But
I mean, a lot of people see what they see on TV and it looks neat. It looks, wild, adventurous, and all that. So I guess until you face the music every morning and end up in that situation, it is, I guess, adventurous. So we got Miss Donuts says, do you think the dreams are flashbacks?
No, I think the dreams are just, I'm reliving it to a dream state. And it's more vivid in that dream state.
Yeah, because usually your flashbacks are quick.
Yeah, they're quick, or it sounds
blurry. Right. So we got M13, I think this is MI13. Can you recall any positive experiences with angels or positive beings?
Honestly, no, I can't.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So basically Diddy is a real factual demon that wants to be the Antichrist. Is that what you're saying?
100%.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
I think he's a shape-shifting reptilian as well as Oprah Winfrey.
I tell you, it's neat, and that's a neat, still bad word. It's intriguing now when you've got cameras that are so technically advanced that they can take and zoom across the stadium and pick up somebody blinking their eye and see an eye within an eye. It's really crazy to think that. But when you see Diddy, there's many pictures of him I've seen where they showed side profile pictures, just different angles that he didn't look human.
No.
So Rocko, have you distanced yourself from those who were in your life with that lifestyle? I had to cut ties with everyone.
Well, I have had quite a few. One of my friends, he was going through, trauma, and he unalived himself. Yeah, so I don't in New York. I don't think I even have any more friends in New York. Everybody I know, there might be a few out there, but I don't talk to people out there. I don't even like New York. I don't want nothing to do with it. It brought on all this trauma, not only there where I'm at as well, but it's much better for me here.
No, it's like, that would be akin to if you were involved in a unaliving, homicide or something like that, and you did it, or you were part of it, and then you have to turn and get up and go back there every day. Or you go back to the same house and live in the same house every day. So if you don't remove yourself from that environment, it's like you're never going to leave that dream. You're never going to get out of that situation. It's just going to encircle you forever, So, okay, says Sega Frog says, Rocko, are you able to cry sometimes, or does the pain seem stuck in you? In other words, are you able to bring it up and get it out? Crying is normally a sign that you're making some progress through this very difficult time for yourself. So, in other words, are you able to let go, just pull down and just ball?
I do. I do.
Yeah, sometimes if you don't, you'll blow up. Literally, I mean, it
just suddenly comes. Like sometimes
it hits you like a fist in the back of the head.
Yeah, it could be a song. Sometimes it could be. It'll just release it, but it feels good once it's released.
Right, it's a quick trigger mechanism. So, Rocko, have you lost trust in people now? And should Mary J. Blige be scared? And if so, how much should she be scared?
I think everybody in the industry that took part in this satanic occult, that's trying to rule the world, that is going to be taken down one by one. I can already see it coming. God is in charge, and God is righteously angry, and God always wins.
Nice. So you got Rocko, is there any protection spiritually or physical that can be sent to the missing children in captive? And how are you, sweetheart? Sweetheart's from her, buddy, not me.
Well, I mean, I do at times, like, I sit there and I wonder about these kids that are missing.
Right.
And when I see, like, I have like the Amber Alert on my phone at all times.
Yeah, so do I.
And the amount of children that go missing it's crazy.
Yeah, I tell you where I am, it's not that bad. I mean, as far as like if you utilize the Amber Alert, which if you guys are familiar with the Amber Alert, to dumb it down, is basically an alert system through your public broadcasting system. That if a child goes missing, they'll put it up on all the traffic billboards, over your cell phones, over the radio. When it hits everybody's phones in this area. And I don't know if it's nationwide or not, but it's an amazing system. And then the nicest part about it is they'll also send an alert back out when that child's been found. So it's pretty nice to see that. So does the name Spunky mean anything to you?
I'm not.
I don't know if you had an ex-girlfriend chopping after you, man. You got to be careful these days. All right, Rocko. So did Rocko ever say that? Were you ever abducted yourself?
Not that I can recall. I mean, I might have been
mind controlled and then brought back, something like that.
Yeah, that very well could have happened. Absolutely, I have
probably wouldn't know, right?
Killer marks on me.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So.
Okay, we already asked this question. He said no on that one about the cloning center. So that was Jane. All right. So how did you discover, or did you, for one, I know you said you heard about them. Did you actually ever discover any tunnels where you were in the Hamptons? Come across them yourself?
In those tunnels. Diddy brought me in those tunnels, and there were cages.
So now you say cages.
Did
they have
dog cages, literal dog cages.
So did they have?
He was a sick, sadistic. The things he did is.
Well, and like with the tunnels, I mean, I know they interconnect between the properties, but when you go down there in the underground pipes and things like that, did they have rooms that were cordoned off where they would keep the dog pens, or did they just leave them out in the tunnels like it was literally a dog?
I remember them being out in the tunnels, like, wow. And, it was horrible. And
I cannot imagine that you've been through that. I really
a lot of these, they didn't care. Like, you know, they didn't care. It was just horrible.
Treating you like a dog is what it amounts to.
Yep. Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Treat you, beat you, put you in a cage. I mean, that's just
Yep.
that's wild. Let's see. Star Pink says, do you think that your visualizing gift is a result of the ET interaction and she is sending light and love to you? Or I'm sorry, yeah, love and light to you. So do you think the visualizing gift is a result of the ET interaction?
It could be numerous things. It could have been my programming. And like I said, what I did mainly was I've started deprogramming to me is a lifetime process. You got to deprogram all the time. So like when I deprogram, I turn the negative programming into a positive programming.
No, I missed a little bit of you earlier because I was doing some things, getting food out for dinner.
Yes, I have been stalked. Plenty of times I've been stalked. Absolutely.
Well, what is visualizing anyway? I missed that part earlier.
Well, like I visualize things. Like I can see things before it actually happens.
Okay, like predicting. Okay, I got you. Yeah, but you're actually, instead of it just being a thought in your mind, it's something you can.
Yeah, I can see it. I can see
Wow.
it. I can see it. Yeah.
Okay, or Welsh Gold says, how do you personally trust or verify a safe person from a mole or a plant? How do you separate one from the other?
Well, for one, this would be the first interview I've ever done talking about any of the Diddy stuff. I have done interviews talking about, you know, Montauk and you know, the experiments and that stuff and ETs, but you know, I'm just trying to, you know, one step at a time with me. That's it. You know, one step at a time.
I mean, I tell you what, I mean, the length of time I've been working with Sean, it amazes me the amount of people that have a story, whether it be your type with the entertainer, you know, Diddy, and then you've got the MK Ultra and how they're tying together with the Diddy victims. Your Bohemian Grove, and it's like you go on YouTube, there's so many people that have stories, and you get a few people between that they're not real. But like you, I mean, when you're rolling your story, it's like if you're not, then you're a damn good actor, you know?
No, I have no reason. Like I said, and you know what? I don't want. That's one thing. Like I always say, like the Diddy stuff, like having that author that is in love with Diddy, and you know, it's a female author, and I'm a male. So and when it comes out, sometimes. You know, like my friend, it came out the other day and it started talking about, well, I don't even want to go into it, but it's like,
right.
It was not good at all. It was not good at all.
He says, oh, I'm sorry. Sophia O says, wasn't there some sort of shape-shifting creature created at Montauk?
No, that was just some animal that was, that was, that could have washed up from Plum Island, which is near the Montauk area. I don't know, but I don't think it was anything alien wise.
Says, do you access nature more now?
I try to as much as I can, but like living in a suburban town, there's not really that much.
You know, you get the individual tree through 3 blocks of concrete and asphalt. So we got any thoughts on viral or viral, or that's supposed to be viral reptilian aliens, or AKA demons? Vril, I may be saying that wrong.
Yeah, I'm not. Reptilians, I said it before. I believe that a lot of these celebrities, politicians, I believe a lot of them are shape-shifting reptilians for sure.
Well, do you think they're one and the same? Do you think it's a reptilian is the same as a demon, or is it that we have 2 different creatures there?
Oh, I mean, you could be demonically possessed. There's all different kinds of things. But a reptilian is different. It's when they literally turn in and shapeshift into like a lizard person.
Yeah, I got you.
So, yeah.
So, Rocko, is there any way protection, spiritual or physical, can be sent to the missile? I think we did this one earlier too.
Yeah, we did.
Guys, and that's one thing we had talked about on one of the guests the other night, that ladies like Miss Azria and Miss Beverly, and we have several of them that do come into the chat. They're the ones that you will want to ask that question to, because they do it. And on some of her other streams, I mean, she's read me right out of the blue, different people. When things come to her, she will do her thing. So definitely, you know, maybe go on Miss Bev's videos and leave a comment, and she may get back to you. But they could probably answer that better. So,
right.
So Rocko, are you allowed to laugh anymore? And are there things in life that bring you joy now?
Oh yeah, I had my 2 beautiful little girls. Like I said, that's you know, I'm a rich man. I have 2 girls.
Congratulations. So, how old are they?
4 and 5.
Oh man, they're good times. My son is fostering a 2 and a 3-year-old set of brothers, and it's fun, that's for sure. And of course, Sean's got this Zigster who's just hit her 1 year and 4-month mark. His son, little cute little guy, and Ron, the other Jose, you met him. He's got a daughter that's only the day before Christmas old, so pretty good year. Says, do you have support and a place that you feel safe to go?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's one thing I was right when I read that too. I mean, throughout all this, were you ever put in a position where you had to basically stay on the run and hide, or were you secure enough in where you were staying at that you didn't have to keep running?
Well, I was running from my own self for a very long time, not facing anything, not talking about it. So
you were your own worst enemy at that time.
At one point I was, yeah, instead of trying to get help. And, you know, I thought that everybody was, you know, I was way too friendly.
And you may have said this earlier before I got back there, but what was the final straw? I mean, what finally brought you out of that whole predicament that you were in, between being mistreated as a kid and teenager? I mean, because you were almost a man at that point. towards the end. I mean, what finally brought you out of that? Did you remove yourself from that situation, or were the police involved? I mean, and you can shorten it. I mean, really, how did you get out of the situation you were in?
Pretty much like I just cut everybody off.
So they didn't come after you. They didn't try to keep.
Oh no, they tried to come after me.
Okay.
They got jumped, beat up several times.
So it's almost like trying to be taken out of a gang that they always tell you never get out. You have to get beat out. So that's kind of
correct.
All right,
Correct.
gotcha. Okay. So Nana Psychoville says, Rock, just to check, how are you? But also, do you know anything about Tahoe Truckee at all? Tahoe Truckee.
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. So Mojiji says, do you believe celebrity kids were used as lures on top of them allegedly being victimized themselves in the same horrible ways? So not only were they lures, they were also victims. And she said, you don't.
Well, I mean, look what Usher did. Look what Usher did. You know, with Justin. You know what I mean? It boils down to what they call a handler. You know.
Okay.
I feel that way. I definitely do.
Let's see. When abducting, Annalise says, when abducting children, do they look for a particular bloodline, economic bracket, trouble broken families, can't read that, abused children? So, or typically abused children, do they just take anybody that they want?
Generationally.
Oh,
Yeah, it's generational. It's generational.
Yeah.
It's generational.
Okay. So you don't, I mean, really bloodlines don't have like family, relatives, ancestors, or anything like that?
A light worker. I don't know if I want to call it a light worker, a warrior of Christ, though. Yeah, for sure.
No, what is a light worker? What's the definition of that?
Oh, I never really researched that deep.
Okay. So Rocky, a lighthearted question. Do you skate and can you kickflip? Say strong, pal, we love you.
I used to be able to skate. I used to skate. Yeah, I did. I used to be able to do kickflips.
I'd say when I first saw you in here, I'm like, yeah, he's a skater or a punk rocker at some point. Excuse me. Natalie says, would you declare this prayer over yourself? In Jesus' name, rebuke any incubus, demon, and command it to the pit of hell. Plead the blood of Jesus and declare freedom over your mind, body, spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much for that.
Yes.
Okay. Lady Warrior asked, do you plan on staying clean, moving forward, and then maybe in the future helping other victims through their trauma as well?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And as I learn things, I go by the each one, teach one thing. If I learn something that helps me and another survivor I'm speaking with might say, oh, well, you know, or a survivor of any type of trauma might ask me and it might benefit. They might benefit from what I learned. So I teach them.
That's a good point there. Rain Marie says, will you try to avoid the news when the Diddy trial happens this year?
Well, I can't really answer that. I've been informed by, you know.
Right.
Yeah. So
yeah, guys, anything towards that, he can't answer at this point in time, with or without being involved at this minute. It's just by his advice of his attorney. So, Damon says, will you be testifying in court again, guys? Right now, he can't answer on anything for that. So. Okay, Welshie Gold says, would you advise schools and children's services what to be wary of other than just the norm or just the usual? Talking about MK Ultra. So I'm guessing if there's any involvement, if it's making its way in the schools too.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The teachers, I mean, the guidance counselors, you know, they're looking, my thing is it's like they're trying to diagnose too much.
Right.
And quick to diagnose somebody with something that they really don't have.
Okay. So are you currently getting any help now, mentally or physically, at this point in time?
Yes. I do have a psychiatrist, and you know, I have a therapist. So,
do you know if you were given an unalive switch? So I guess if anything hit the fan, would you be able to take yourself out to earn their best interest? I guess
I would never give in to that. I mean, the thought is, you know, obviously, right. But it's reacting to the thought. What do I do? No, I'm not going to do that. What am I going to benefit from that?
So in other words, they can plant the seed, but you still have enough control over yourself to make the final decision to act.
Well, deprogramming. Yeah.
See, misinformation asked, please go on about the reptilians and real.
I didn't really talk about that, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, we will save that for the next one, guys.
There's too much with MK Ultra and stuff. I mean, the rabbit hole goes deep. It goes very, very, very deep.
Gotcha.
And all I can suggest is you got to be careful with the rabbit hole, because you could fall into the rabbit hole, and you know, like, that's why I'm not co-signing, you know, on anything. If somebody contacts me and says, well, I need you to co-sign for me, this, that, no.
Yeah, anymore. There's too much risk going any of that, you know? It's just crazy. It's not worth putting your name out for anybody, and they can tear you down. I tell you, I mean, you get different things that can happen where all of a sudden you got a credit card being used in another state.
Well, I had my identity stolen, you know, and some other things along with it. It's pretty horrible.
Right. Well, what was up with the hearing test and the creative, intelligent kids?
Oh, well, I remember hooked on phonics as a child. And I still have, I get ear ringing sometimes. What does it say? What would you say to survivors if they are silent and suffering?
That's a good question.
Well, it's easier said than done to get like what I'm doing right now. It's hard, to talk about, being a survivor of this type of stuff, especially being a male and, understanding that other males had their way with you. And then the questioning your own, sexuality and everything that comes with it. It's a timing thing.
Yeah, it's like you get piggybacked with trauma that stays on you the rest of your life. You absolutely were not at any fault for any of that. It's horrible that you or anybody has had to go through that or will ever have to go through that again. Cause and Effect asked, Rocko, are you able to support your family? And if so, is it something that keeps you safe?
It's probably a good thing my kids don't live with me. They, like I said, this stuff caused me, I was supposed to get married, I believe it was last May. And, I started getting really hateful. That's when that started. And then we were going to work it out again. And then all this stuff came out and, that was it. Like she was done. She was done. But we're friends now.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good place to get to. I mean, even though you may go through hell in the beginning, if you can end up in a place that you're both at peace with each other, especially if you're raising a kid together, that makes all the difference, So this question, I'm so confused. Will Diddy being in jail reveal something to the general population if he's a demon, etc., or will it never be a physical manifestation?
Well, I mean, he is into all that occult stuff. So, and honestly, is that really Diddy inside?
Right.
That
I
is
heard a little bit about that too. Yeah.
Or is that his?
Well, and see, a lot of people are thinking that he doesn't look the same, but a lot of folks, if you believe that, that's fine. But if you
Absolutely, I think Jay-Z is one of the biggest pigs on the planet. Absolutely.
Got you. You're ahead of me on that one. No, I was saying.
All right.
Go ahead.
Oh man,
I've got some lovely comments that I just want to read because we've done all the questions.
Got you.
So Michelle is saying, "What an amazing person you are, Rocko. I hope that one day all of your altars go away. You can really do some good in this world. Your little girls are lucky you are your dad." And you've already spoken about government calls, so I'll go to the next one. Danny Henderson, a person like Rocko with such horrific traumas has to be careful not to get triggered, as that can awaken other altars programmed into him. It's such a deep, delicate subject, and he's doing amazing. Well,
thank you.
Really nice, Danny. Yeah. So we've gone through all the questions, Rocko. I appreciate you spending all this time with us. Is there anything you would like to say in conclusion to the viewers?
I thank everybody for the wonderful comments. And I keep you all in my prayers. Sean, thank you for having me on. I appreciate the time and being able to get my story out there.
Yeah, you did great, guy, and I appreciate you, being so forthcoming and allowing us to sharing this with us and everything. Because again, the more that we hear, the more that we see, the more people will do, so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, that's all that. Yeah, I just want this stuff to end. I'm so tired of it. It's like
too many kids get hurt, man, and too many hurt kids leave hurt adults, and that's a hard way to live. So.
But I mean, it was like I was listening to a Biggie song the other day, and I heard him say something. I'm like, wait a minute, what?
We heard a different story back then, even it's the same song now.
But it's like wow, it's like the things that come, as time goes on. But yeah,
well, I got a crazy one for you, and this one, and you can answer this very well, I'm sure. What do you think, Tupac and Biggie, Fat Joe, some of the icons that have already left here? What do you think they would think of Diddy's mess and Jay-Z's mess? How do you think they would see it?
I wouldn't be able to tell you that. I mean, it's the thing about it is no matter what, in order to get to the top, you basically got to do whatever. No matter what, it seems in the industry, something to do with selling the soul, or
Yeah, very true, man. Very true.
So it's, I don't know. I don't know. But like I said, it's not just celebrities that are doing it. This is like, I think, a worldly disease, to be honest.
Oh, it's definitely not isolated in any one spot. It's equally shared all over the world.
So, yeah, I mean, politicians, all these people.
Yeah, that's true, man. That's true. Mr. Attwood, what are we doing next, sir?
Yeah, so just Rocko, we salute your bravery speaking out, and God bless you, brother, and with your girls and everything else. Just spend that time in nature with your family and positive influences on you, and you're gonna do great.
Well, are you aware of the stream we have coming next, Sean?
We'll let Rocko go, and then we can close the show and tell the viewers what we've got coming next.
Okay.
All right, Rocko, you take care, my friend.
All right. See you guys later.
See you, bye.
Right,
Talk to you in a bit.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow, Rocko is as real as it gets, folks.